number one fan site for Impact Wrestling, TNAsylum.net, and Old School Dirty Heels Productions presents the TNA Asylum HeelCast.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. Week number 28 of both Impact Wrestling and the TNA Asylum HeelCast. I am your host again this week, Raven Effect. Joining me is the one and only dilapidated boat himself, Mr. TNA Dude. How are you?
I'm feeling like a dilapidated boat. You know what they say when you're a boat owner, right? Bring on another 1,000. Well, no matter what happens, I think every boat's dilapidated, although I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure that mine would shield me from the fireworks quite as well as what Matt Hardy's did. So props to him and dilapidated boat. Take care of that thing, Matt. Take care of that thing.
Yeah, no, I have no idea about the boat owner. I'm poor, but good for you, buddy. And
you're poor whenever you have a boat, you're poor.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm poor without one, but... Joining us as well, I refrained from saying it last week as much as I want to, but we do have a special guest this week. We have WolvesNation themselves at the WolvesNation on Twitter. WolvesNation, how you doing?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me this week.
Thanks for joining us. We're very happy to have you on board. So we're going to talk Impact Wrestling this week. Of course, we're going to get into some Davey, and of course, we need to get into Eddie, as Eddie is a main attraction this week. First, we're going to head off and do the plugs for the week. As we talked on this show, we do have the TNA HeelCast half-year award voting. There's 2 polls because basically I didn't want to pay $25 to split all the questions to have it just on one. So one page has 10 questions, the other has 3. But it will be posted, basically, if you're listening to this on TNA Asylum, it'll be on TNA Asylum on this HeelCast page. If you listen to us on YouTube, it'll be posted up on a link on YouTube. Or you can go to my Twitter page at Raven Effect for TNA or at TNA HeelCast. We have the links pinned up. Please vote. Let's get some accurate numbers for both us and TNA. As always, be sure to check out Straight Shooting with FK9. Also, always on TNA Asylum. FK9, always a great listen. And he was back in full force this week. Check out my Raven Effects Nevermore column at TNAasylum.net as well. It's my Slammiversary Go Home show and my version of Slammiversary. And also, they do have the July tapings right now. TNA Asylum member Kyle Barbosa was there. He gave accurate information last week, or for yesterday's show. Get full-on taping results from today are being posted on TNAasylum.net, so check it out. Also, our Revive the X Division petition, as well as our Aiden O'Shea petition are available. Check those out, hit those up. Our friends at King of the Mountain Radio are also sponsoring that, so there is that for everyone. Let's go ahead and we're going to have WolvesNation. Let's have you go ahead and let everyone know about the TNA tweet of the week.
Raven! Come on, man. WolvesNation is our guest. Let's not make them do all the work. I'll handle the tweet of the week. So the tweet of the week was actually a response to Allie. Allie tweeted, Migraine City, with 3 sad smiley face emojis. And Gail Kim, who somehow manages to get the TNA tweet of the week seemingly every week, responds, were you talking out loud to yourself? And, of course, we also had a good comment of the week. And this comes from our friend and listener, the Fupa was nice. It's a little bit lengthy, but it's definitely worth listening to. The Fupa was nice says, I can see why there are those of you who have been frustrated with TNA lately. But here's my 2 cents, not just on this week's episode, but also on the past couple of episodes. During these times of turmoil, with the ongoing election, the civil unrest amongst the population, the continued racial divide, and of course the series of shootings that never should have happened at all, watching Impact has truly alleviated my heavy feelings on said socio-political events. And to clarify, I'm not meaning that in a callous or malicious way. What I mean is that when TNA has genuinely brought a smile on this old man's face and even gave me several chuckles, which in turn brought positive vibes in my household, Even my wives and kids who are not into wrestling also enjoyed watching this final deletion. As a wrestling purist, that may not be so ideal if you want to be taken seriously, but in terms of getting buzz and grabbing casual viewers, it was a good first step. Props to all of you HeelCasters and to TNA. And you know what, Fupa, that was nice. That was a great comment and a great outlook on life in general.
Yeah, very much so. The comment of the week was really hard this week, and I'm a cat bug. I apologize because I have been told I'm a cat bug that his comment was going to be it, but then Fupa posted that, and it was like, man, there's no way that you don't put that on the air. So it was just too good, and it made a lot of sense and good stuff. So we move on from there to someone who kind of always has a comment of the week, our buddy, the Count. So we're going to go ahead and hit you with Count's quirks from this past week's show. His Count said these and other things on TNA Asylum. He said, I'm still waiting on that FK9 sweater vest, although truly, I know better than to step to the new Doctor of Style numero. So, in other words, the Count backed down and pussied out to Numero's challenge for the fashion off. Count also said, hey, this move was a well thought out plan. Oh no, SmackDown is coming. Run. Imagine if SmackDown doesn't maintain a ratings increase, so they save money by moving back to their old time slot. TNA will be doubly fucked. TNA hiring a relative of Matt Hardy's? I refuse to believe it could happen. Now, Count is someone who, unlike me, hates Moose. I'm not going to say hate, but he's not a fan of Moose, and I know that Count didn't want TNA to sign him, so he says, I love Moose. He may only have one or two nice spots and otherwise ain't much in the ring, and he may not be able to cut a promo to save his life, but I'll be damned if he ain't a hell of a hoss, and he played football, damn it. Signed, JR.
Yeah, a couple of things here. First of all, sadly, I have to agree with Count for a change. I completely agree with him on the SmackDown thing. I think that SmackDown's going to move, and I think TNA is going to move again. And I think at WWE, it's one of those situations where they can lose money and still laugh at what they did at TNA. So, yeah, I completely agree. I find it hard to believe that people want to tune into the WWE product live 2 nights in a row, or any product, really. It's not so much whether it's WWE or not, but you're going to watch the same thing twice in a row on 2 consecutive nights. If they're going to go live, Thursday, honestly, is a better night to go live. It's the most watched TV night anyway, and everything on Thursday is live anyway. They're going to be competing with football and whatnot. As far as Moose, God, I'm like in agree with Count mode. I'm not a big Moose fan. I think he's got one heck of a lot of upside, but to me, he's still just a guy with a lot of upside, and I do think that he can do some neat things in the ring, but we'll get into him later, this evening's podcast, but I was not uberly impressed with his debut personally.
See, I totally agree about the SmackDown thing. And I also think like the move was too soon. I expected it was probably going to happen, and I think like the thing that to me that they're missing is that you're going to be going head-to-head with the WWE on Tuesday, and that's one thing. But when you're literally on Thursdays going to start at the exact same time as the NFL, what do you expect? For me, though, in my opinion, like I am a Moose fan. I was excited to see Moose show up, and that was kind of what I was hoping he was going to do. Because I feel like Moose probably kind of needs a little bit of a mouthpiece, and that Kingdom of Miracles needed to start, and I think that was it. And Mike Bennett and Moose kind of make sense together with the ROH connection along with Maria. But anyways, let's go ahead and let's move on to last week's sound off. Dude, you want to go ahead and hit everyone with the thoughts on the final deletion match that we heard on TNAasylum.net?
Absolutely. So what were your honest thoughts on the final deletion match? And, of course, our good buddy, the chairman, because, he is epic and he does have multiple personalities, as we've seen on the show, says he's never been so conflicted. His personal judgment is that it was okay, too goofy and stupid for his taste, other than Senor Benjamin, let's face it, Senor Benjamin chairman is awesome. And a few spots from Jeff, I didn't care for it. Just not what I want out of wrestling. With that being said, it brought more attention and more eyes to TNA than anything in a long time. Gave Impact the highest rating on Pop and made Next Destination X even more important. Chairman, I probably couldn't agree with that much more, buddy. I think you're spot on. Our other faithful listener, Mr. 1%er, says, I totally get why so many people enjoyed the final deletion match, but it felt so low budget. I felt like I was watching a backyard wrestling match, and one that wasn't very good on top of that. I felt like they cared more about creating memes people can use from the match than putting on a memorable and entertaining professional wrestling match. This was not a match I'll recommend to anyone, and it wasn't a match I'll ever watch again. I did laugh my ass off when I was watching it, though, but it was for all the wrong reasons. It's funny, you read these first two comments, and they sound completely different, but they're also sort of the same, right? So it's definitely an interesting thing. And, of course, my good buddy, The Count, says, while watching the final deletion, I felt like I was watching a lower-budget YouTube version of a really bad Sci-Fi Channel original movie. I don't watch those for a reason. However, enough people enjoy them that they keep making a ton of them, so I can see why the rating popped. Again, these are three of the same things. I'm going to be honest with you, fellas. I was on vacation last week. I did not get to watch Impact actually until over the weekend when I returned, and I wasn't sure what the hell I was watching. It was different. It was bizarre. Jeff Hardy jumped out of a tree. And then, he almost got set on fire and fell crashing down from a stake. It was very different, and it wasn't the professional wrestling that I'm personally used to watching. So I think like our listeners have said, I was a little turned off by that. I definitely could see that being the kind of thing that people could tune into, particularly for the whole Sci-Fi Channel thing that the Count mentioned. Personally, to me, if they don't capitalize on it and do more of it, then it was really just a waste. A one and done type of thing doesn't really do much, especially being so bizarre. And it's kind of hard for me to imagine Bobby Lashley doing something like that. It's kind of hard for me to imagine the Bromans doing something sci-fi like that, or being involved in anything like that, or Grado. Now I know Count's chuckling, going, "There we go. We'll get rid of them, make it all like this." But it's not for the entire roster. So because of that, I think it's going to be something that they're going to have a difficult time reproducing and doing again, which to me kind of almost says, well, then why do it to begin with? But at the same point in time, yeah, they did get some publicity out of it. All right, so let's move on to Twitter as well. And our good buddy Joseph Napolitano says, I really loved #Final Deletion, and I applaud TNA for taking creative risks and not playing it safe, and it's really paid off. TNA has a lot going for them with a young and talented roster and fresh creative directory, and to him, WWE is so stale and bland. Joseph, you make a lot of good sense. Our friend Ryan Olivier says, it was the perfect symphony of the Hardy Boys' careers, the closing of that chapter. R8R said, thought it was delightful. And Epic Mike thought it was surprisingly epic. Nick, our good friend, she said that she thought it was a really good, especially with the fireworks. That was some craziness. Yes, the fireworks were something that we haven't seen very much. And on YouTube, Danish Core responded, for me, the final deletion was the best story TNA have told since Rude and Storm rivalry. I can understand why it's not your cup of sunshine, but this angle, and especially Matt's character, has probably gotten them more attention than Hogan and Bischoff ever did. I enjoyed the hell out of this feud. So, Wolf Nation, I've talked about my opinion. Obviously, Raven Effect gave his last week. What did you think about this?
Well, I'll call it from a standalone first viewing, you kind of are left with the what am I watching and what's going to happen next. So you're kind of on that fine line. I I enjoyed it because it was different. It wasn't the same professionalism that we're used to seeing. The setup and everything. But I also think I'm kind of a wait and see kind of guy too, especially when you get angles and things like this. I like to. If Final Deletion was like chapter 1, and now we're going on with chapter 2. I like to see how this progresses, before I make a final judgment. Who knows? Maybe that'd be a good title for a final chapter of their story. But I enjoyed it. I think it was a good stepping stone to take Matt's character into a more of a psychotic kind of realm and set things around him. Where Jeff Hardy, it's also a chance for being the lead. It kind of gives him a chance to erase things from the past, maybe erase his Jeff Hardy in a sense type persona, and maybe even sort of a Willow and give us something new. Now, I don't know if they're going to go with that, but it certainly leaves the opportunity for both to do that. But overall, as a story, I think it was fun. I think it was fresh and had some people that haven't watched wrestling come back in a while watch it. Those reactions was cool to see. I think right now, like we were saying earlier, it's about keeping it going. And so we'll see what they do now that they've got people interested. We'll see after where they take this thing. But overall, I think it was a good story.
That's awesome take, to be honest with you. So thank you guys for that. So we're going to move on to the news, which we kind of already went over a little bit, but Moose has signed with TNA Wrestling. From what I read just a few minutes ago, it is a 2-year deal, thankfully, because TNA seems to just be in this habit of only signing 1-year deals. So at least we've got a talent locked up for 2 years, and I believe it was the word that I read was 110 dates. Now, TNA dude, you kind of gave a little bit of your opinion on Moose when you were agreeing with that guy, the Count. Weren't you 2 tag team partners at one time?
No.
It wasn't you and Count?
It was me and Eco Bro.
Oh, that's right. Wow.
Yeah.
I feel real smart on the air. I believe it was Wake and Count, but anyways.
There's a tag team for you.
Yeah. With his mom. But
everybody's tag team Wake's mom.
Hey. So especially the WolvesNation. TNA, do you have anything you want to add or any more you want to say about Moose?
Here's the thing about Moose. Moose is a very raw talent, and I think that there's definitely a lot of potential and possibility for him, but he's not there yet. And he's going to take a couple years to get there, to be honest with you. He's just there's an it factor, and he hasn't developed the it factor. He's an athletic guy. He's a big guy. And so, 2 years from now, he'll probably be primed and ready to make a jump to WWE and probably get signed for, bigger money there. What I see with people saying about Moose signing, and this is the part that maybe bothers me, is that they say, well, he's not worth the money that they offered him. At the end of the day, folks, these wrestlers, they don't have long careers. TNA didn't sign him for an extraordinary amount of money. It's not an exorbitant amount. So I don't have a problem with them offering him that kind of money to do their shows and to be part of the show. But they need to treat him more like he's developmental as opposed to he's going to come in and interrupt and ruin the main event. And I would say that that's more my issue with it, that I just don't think that he's ready for the spot that they just threw him into.
I gotcha. A lot of people think Moose is pretty raw. I guess I don't see it that much, but there's definitely some things that he needs to work on. But WolvesNation, what are your thoughts on Moose? Kind of sounds like you probably know a little bit of the ROH stuff. You got an opinion on Moose?
I like him. I do. I think he's, like you said, I think he's raw in some areas, for sure. I mean, and that comes across, I guess, not your total package, and that's okay. Not everybody can be the great mouthpiece and in-ring guy too. Of course, we could start a whole other different conversation. I know as far as Moose needing a mouthpiece. Is this where I go cough, cough, Veda Scott? But we'll save that for a later time. But I do like him, and I think he has great potential, and not just be another powerhouse of a guy where, you know, some guys are really huge and that's all the buzz they get and they can't really get over. I say Moose definitely has that it factor that could get over. It's just going to be finding that certain niche to get him over rather than just being that big guy.
You guys bring up a lot of good points, and if I wasn't so happy to be involved in Wolves Nation before, the whole Veda Scott thing makes me that much more happy and proud to be in agreement here. I'm very happy that they got Moose. I think, like I had said last week, I mean, you don't see a lot of guys in Ring of Honor that just can't cut it as a worker, and I think I think maybe a lot of people don't think he's that polished in the ring or like he's Hernandez or something like that, but I actually don't think that the guy is that raw. You know, he's got a good look to him. He really does. The Moose chant, it actually was happening in the Impact Zone, which is pretty damn impressive. Cause,
it was also piped in first. Well, and then they picked up one after it was piped in. They picked up a little bit, but some of that was piped in, man.
They need to start piping in a lot of stuff because the Impact Zone is not what the Impact Zone used to be. But, you know, the guy probably does need a mouthpiece, and that's the thing. But, you know, Bill Goldberg probably could have used a mouthpiece too. Not saying these are the same thing, but you know,
Moose is no Goldberg. Moose
no,
is no
he's
Goldberg.
not. Moose has more than 3 moves. Sorry, dude. No, you're a Goldberg guy. Just had to do it. But he's no Gilbert. But you know, Moose is.
I can't believe you just said that and thought that you won that response. I'm sorry.
I didn't know we were competing, but I think, you know, the thing is that I was thinking last week, and I know I'm not the only one because I actually saw some other people say the same kind of stuff, is that why not put Moose with Bennett if they get him? So, you know, Mike Bennett talked about bringing in this Kingdom of Miracles and it's slowly progressing, and, you know, really the only person that kind of fits with him right now would be Matt Hardy, and Matt Hardy's too broken to really fit in. So there's no Matt Taven or Adam Cole coming in. But Moose, you know, so basically you take Moose, who kind of needs a mouthpiece, and you give him both Maria and Mike Bennett, two of the best talkers in Impact Wrestling, two of the best talkers in all of pro wrestling. And that's going to help the guy a lot, in my opinion. You kind of have him, you know, they can do a tag team. There's some competition for the DK while we wait for Davey to fully be back. You know, who cares if it's heel versus heel? There's stuff that can be done there. You know, we got to see Moose go face-to-face, head-to-head with Bobby Lashley, which TNA Dude brought up on the show a couple weeks back. I liked it because, look, I think TNA booked themselves into a corner with either Lashley becomes the X Division champ or Eddie becomes the TNA heavyweight champ. So I was hoping for some sort of a no contest. What I was really hoping was going to happen was Moose and Bennett would form together, break up that main event, and they did. I think Moose is going to make an impact, pun intended. And yeah, pipe the chants in all you want, because they need to happen for a lot more than just Moose. So I'm happy about it. But I would still prefer Veda Scott come in with Moose. So the other news, guys, which is kind of strange in my opinion, is that Bound for Glory, which has always been an October thing, is moved to September 11th this year. Wolves Nation, let's go ahead and have you start. What are your thoughts on? I mean, at least we do have a Bound for Glory that's going to be pushed to and whatnot. But what are your thoughts on them moving Bound for Glory up to September as opposed to October?
It's going to be a little interesting. I mean, you know, we've all kind of got used to that. You know, Bound for Glory being in that October spot. So, you know, just a little bit earlier. I'm not sure the exact reasoning. Do we even have a reasoning for it exactly. I mean, other than they're just moving it. But I don't know. I think it's, I don't know. And where are we going to have it? I think that's going to be another big question too.
Yeah. I mean, literally the only reason that I have heard that it was moved to September was that they didn't, and this is all speculation or rumor. I don't know. I don't know that it was confirmed. Was that they didn't want to go head to head on a day with the NFL when the NFL is like in, mid-season form and whatnot. I don't know if it has something to do with there's going to be two WWE pay-per-views, one for SmackDown and one for Raw. I don't know. I don't get it, but that's the only two explanations I've got. TNA, dude, you got any thoughts on this you want to chime in with?
Yeah, I just assume it's because they don't have enough money to make it to October, right? Because that's what everybody keeps reporting. That's what everybody says. It's got to be true, right? That's what we keep hearing. No, to be serious, I'm going to go and I'm going to make a speculation that I haven't heard yet. And I'm going to speculate that, they've been going over to India a lot. And I'm going to guess that maybe they're going over to India in October. And they're not going to be in the country to have Bound for Glory. And so they're going to do it a month early. So that's where I'm going to come from with this move. Do I think it really matters at the end of the day? No. They're not going out of business, folks. That was a joke. That was just me picking on all the people that are always saying that they're going out of business. Moose clearly doesn't think that they're going out of business, or he wouldn't have signed for 2 years. So I'm just going to say that maybe they're not going to be in the country.
Yeah, India's been one of the speculations. I don't know what the time zone difference and whatnot is like.
It's 10 and a half hours time, so they're not going to be filming Bound for Glory there, but they'll do a set of tapings over there or something. And they'll just happen to be doing it in October for whatever reason. That's when they could work it out. So they said, okay, we'll do BFG a month earlier. I mean, if you're asking me what I would speculate, that's my speculation. Has Dixie Carter called me and told me that? No, but I mean, she knows how to reach me.
She's called Griggs. I know that. She's called Griggers.
She loves Griggers.
She does.
We all love Griggers.
Hey, in that case, then I guess, if that was the case and TNA's going to film overseas, wherever it may be, then I guess they won't have to pull the Jeff Hardy injury angle this year. He's been deleted.
That's right. Well, it's all very coincidental. I think he's obsolete now. I think he got deleted, but then he's obsolete. He got deleted, obsoleted, or something. Hell knows.
Yeah. I think I may have heard that obsolete word a time or two.
Right. Who knew there was an upgrade from deletion? Apparently, obsolation is the new one. All right, we'll take it. Thank you, Matt Hardy.
Yeah. With the Bound for Glory thing, there's a couple things that, kind of stand out to me. So, yeah, one, I mean, I hope it's not in the Impact Zone. I would like to see them go to New York or somewhere, but odds are it may be in the Impact Zone. Just please change the ring apron or something. But it's, you wait 6 months for Slammiversary to finally do your one live pay-per-view, and then just 3 months before the really big one. It's just kind of strange to me. It's not that big of a deal, I guess. WWE sometime. I mean, WrestleMania is kind of always in April, but there's been a time or two that it's been in March. But it's strange to me to move it up. I guess I'm kind of a traditionalist, but for me, it's always made sense. Like, if they're going to move Bound for Glory, why not move it back to December? Because, like, legitimately, like, so Bound for Glory, biggest show, kind of like WrestleMania. Like, this is when the new season, when the season ends, the new season starts, everything gets refreshed. They take those last 2 weeks in December off and just show like the best of shows. So why not have Bound for Glory, then take a couple weeks off, and then start fresh? But here's the thing that I wanted to bring up, and we have probably the third best person to talk about this, is that the DK, they don't really have competition, and we're all kind of waiting on the Wolves against DK. The thing that just popped into my mind the minute that I heard this news was that, is Davey, can Davey be back for Bound for Glory? and now we know that he's not due back for the fall, but Wolves Nation, I want to get your take on this. What are you like? Do you think Davey may be ready for Bound for Glory?
September may be pushing a little. I mean, we haven't been given an exact date. Of course, Davey, very specific on the fall. We get this question over and over and over and over and over again. It gets redundant, the broken record. Possibly. I mean, taking your traditional approach, October might have been a little better, but then again, who knows his body better than us is Davey himself. But it certainly is a possibility. I mean, it's definitely an angle that could be taken, but I guess we would have to factor in, will Decay still have the belts by then? Just another angle to play on that.
Very much so. I really hope that Davey gets back in time for Bound for Glory, because it's just, we've talked on this show, and I think I think kind of everyone that's done this show feels Davey is just the best technical wrestler. Like, I think most of us at least feel he's the best worker in TNA. And so, like, especially for me, it's just, I've always wanted to see the guy get the big push and move up, and it's like Wolves versus DK. It just seems like it has to happen, but very true. We may not have the DK with the tag team championships by then, but I guess we will find out. And, Wolves Nation, before we kind of move on, I want to talk about the Wolves, but I want you to go ahead and, you have the Twitter page at the Wolves Nation. I just want you to go ahead and, take some time, explain to our listeners that may not know about you, what you're doing and what it is that you do with the Wolves Nation page.
Well, this thing started over 2 years ago. Myself being a Wolves fan goes back to 2008. Had seen Davey and Eddie personally before, and different indie wrestling promotions, and then being fortunate enough to see them become ROH tag team champions, and later to see them individually become champions. Started this account because, I looked and got curious one day while on Twitter and said, why is there's no Twitter account for this great tag team, in my opinion? And to my shock, there wasn't. And so I said, I'm going to make one. But before doing so, I said to myself, what can make this very different? And that was a key thing, because while there is a lot of good fan accounts out there, sadly they seem to die off in 6 to 8 months. It's sadly a common theme for whatever reason. I don't know, personal reasons, or who knows. Maybe they get sidetracked, or maybe they're just riding the train, whatever it is. But I was like, if I'm going to do this for these guys, I've got to make it legit, and it's got to be different, something the fans themselves can be involved in. So I started it up, and one of the things I noticed that a lot of accounts wasn't doing was actually helping the wrestlers, in a sense, posting to fans where they're going to be and whatever. And that's one of the things that I pride myself on, is it's not about me. It's never going to be about me. Yeah, I've been allowed some pretty cool things and been a part of some pretty cool things, and I'll never deny that. But the greatest thing is that we can have a connection place for all the fans. Like, they may miss what Davey said, or Eddie, and they can come to the Wolves Nation account and be like, hey, did you hear about this? Is this true? And we get a lot of that, and that's totally cool. And we try to do, I try to do my very best to interact with every fan. It doesn't always happen, especially if you hit me up on the night of Impact. It probably won't happen because, if you've ever watched the account, it kind of goes crazy. But the main purpose is to show support to Davey and Eddie and bring that unity. And I think that's, so far 2 years in, and, I never go about niggas like, wow, you have a lot of followers. Well, more about quantity. I'm not too worried about the quantity as much as I am quality. And I must say, I've met a lot of great people through Wolves Nation and a lot of great fans, and of course, you guys know you run a Twitter account of our podcast. Of course, you get your hate and everything else, but you chuck that to the side, and I guess that's what makes us different. Is wrestling, you get vicious, you get those people, you get the keyboard warriors and everything that we are allowed to bring some positivity where there's not. I mean, kind of like what Davey's hashtag is right now. Better than yesterday, always, and that's the way I take it, and it is what it is, and we just reach out to the fan base and give them that one-stop place. We're never by means am I trying to take the place of Davey and Eddie. Of course I can't. I'm not that guy, and neither will I say, oh, you're the third Wolf. No, I'm not the third, the fourth, the fifth, any of that, because we as a Wolves Nation are their back. You've heard them say it, so I'm just helping reiterate it on social media. So that's kind of what we're about and what we're doing. That's why we encourage the fans all the time. Show your pics, whether it's signs you've made, maybe you've met the guys, maybe you're wearing their shirt on Impact Night or whatever it may be. We try to bring that side of it. And then, hopefully I'm going to be getting in touch with the guys and see if we can't do some other special things and maybe give some stuff away later on down the road. But we'll get into that when the time comes. But that's pretty much what we're about, guys.
Awesome. Good stuff. I've always enjoyed, interacting with you back and forth on Twitter, because you're extremely active, and it's always like, man, I actually thought it was like a joint account that Davey and Eddie had at one time. So I don't like to say it, but I was marking out at first, and then, when I found out that it wasn't them, it was slightly disappointing, but, I've always talked with you back and forth, and I really enjoyed it, and you're doing a good job, like a great job with it, and they're definitely, have the right person in place. And, this is one thing as well that another topic I've always wanted to do on this show, was just kind of give our thoughts and opinions on the Wolves themselves, as individuals. So, TNA, dude, just, real quick, what do you feel about both Davey and Eddie?
Well, first of all, I'm still marking out over Wolves Nation, all right? We got Wolves Nation here. That's awesome on its own. And Wolves Nation, I want to thank you for what you do, because it's a lot of hard work, and every set of wrestlers or wrestler should have somebody as dedicated to them and promoting their career as Davey and Eddie do with you. And I'll be honest with you, it's a ton of work, and not every wrestler deserves it, sadly. But, when I think about the Wolves members, these are two guys that deserve it. I've reached out to Davey several times on Twitter for this reason or that reason, responded every single time. Never not responded. And responded relatively quickly. Very accessible folks. Anybody that's ever watched Ring of Honor, or God forbid, Kevin Steen's old podcast, The Weekend Escapades, knows that Eddie Edwards is just the nicest guy in real life that there ever is, because he was always in the minivan driving around with them. And that smile that Eddie comes to the ring with, and I'll get into more of that later, because he really made me happy this week when he finally got rid of the damn thing. That's who Eddie Edwards is in real life. He's just always smiling and always happy. So I thank you for what you're doing, but I'll be honest with you, these guys deserve to have somebody like you. They're really quality individuals, and I just, I'm just really, really happy for them. I really am.
Well, appreciate the kind words, man. It's been both an honor and a blessing to get to know the guys and call those guys friends, and of course, meeting great fans, and you guys, of course. It's like you said, it is a lot of work. I'm definitely not gonna say it's never is, and I encourage, if anyone's gonna dedicate anything like this to a wrestler, they don't do it haphazardly for you. So if you're really going to do it, don't do it haphazardly for them. It's a give and take. And trust me, it'll pay off, not just because they might follow you on Twitter, but it'll pay off because you know what? You can see them at a show and be like, hey, that person's really a friend, And to me, you're never going to take that away.
Yeah, very cool stuff. I don't know if everyone knows this. Both Davey and Eddie, former world champions in Ring of Honor. In my opinion, like TNA dude had said, Eddie Edwards just the nicest guy. He legitimately looks like the nicest fucking guy out there. He's always smiling, and it's funny because, it's like, how on earth could Eddie Edwards ever, be a heel? How could you get that like fire in him? But I've seen some of his stuff on Ring of Honor where he's just coming out there just straight in front, straight from the hip, and it's like. He delivers it kind of ruthless, and it's just awesome because the guy actually, he can go out there and do it and kind of, put that whole baby face, super nice guy persona to the side and step out of, that element that it appears, and it's awesome. He's the guy I've been wanting to see be the X Division champion for a long time now. Both of these guys, I've just wanted the single success to come so damn bad since the minute they've been in TNA. And, I think Eddie's kind of the guy that can be both X Division, kind of like the mid-card champ. They're obviously one of the best tag teams. Like they're, in my opinion, they may be the best tag team in the world. They're one of the best tag teams in the history of TNA for sure. Davey is a guy, like when they were first getting Davey, there was so many rumors and stuff going around about how, Davey stiffed this and that promoter, how he burned every bridge with every place he's been. Everyone was saying that Davey Richards, there was a stigma that he was, an asshole, not a good person sort of thing. But Davey's been like amazing. He's been such an asset for TNA. He's promoted TNA. He's just been really positive about literally everything with TNA. Like TNA dude had said, anytime he's reached out to Davey, Davey's responded, and that the same thing has been that way for me, which is awesome because like I'm such a huge fan of the guy, and on anyone on TNA Asylum that's known me for a while, there were two things that I really always said, and one was that TNA has to bring back. They did that not in the way I wanted him to, but they brought back but the other thing I always said was that I always said, man, if TNA could just get their hands on Davey Richards, and they did, it's made me happy. But my opinion, guys, is that these two, as ironic as this may sound, are like the two most underutilized talents in all of TNA. They really haven't been given much competition in the tag team division. They haven't. You'll obviously see some big names, and there's some memorable moments. But other than that, there's really been no one, and that sucks. But like I said, I feel these guys should be breakout single stars by now, and especially to be 2 years in, and there hasn't been any singles feuds until Davey really got hurt for a while. Because I think Davey can be heavyweight champ. I think, Davey can be mid-card title, that workhorse character. There's just a lot that they can do, and I feel kind of like how you use the Briscoes in Ring of Honor. They're a tag team, they stay together, but they're also successful as single stars, and this is the debate and question I've been wanting to ask you guys. So, TNA dude, I want to know what your opinion is. I think I kind of know where you're going because we've said it, but I mean, do you agree with me? What do you feel about this?
What's your question exactly?
So as far as the Wolves, should they get these big singles pushes as well as being a team, or just stick to them as a team? What do you feel like?
Okay, so your question exactly is should they?
Yeah.
The answer is should they is they should stay a tag team. And I'm being real careful with how I answer this question. They should stay a tag team because, as you mentioned very eloquently, there are so very few true tag teams left really in the world today that are true tag teams and truly understand the way to be a tag team and understand what it means to be a tag team and to work together as a tag team and put on phenomenal tag team matches. And I feel like the art of the tag team is as valuable as the art of the individual. I realize that that's not necessarily the view of the promoters. Part of it's budgetary, but answer the question, should they? They should stay a tag team, and they should get better tag teams to go against. If the question were, do I think they deserve big singles pushes? These are two guys that go in the ring. These are two guys that have all the tools, and it's not just Davey. Eddie's got the tools to do it too. Okay, they can do a lot with Eddie. I always hear, well, Davey can be the world champ, but Eddie can only be the mid-card champ. Well, Eddie's just as capable of being a world champion as Davey is, and Davey's very capable of being a world champion. I wanted to see Eddie Edwards walk out of the ring with the world championship this past week, and I personally was really pissed off that he didn't. So they deserve to get big singles pushes, and I think that last answer states exactly what I think about what they deserve. If they want it, they deserve it because they've earned it. But gosh, in terms of the wrestling business, nah, they should stay a team.
But do you think they should be used kind of like the Briscoes are on Ring of Honor? Because that's what I feel they should do. What do you like? Do you agree or?
No, they should be a team. TNA needs new and better tag teams, and let's face it, if the Bucks came back, right, and if maybe they brought with them Bad Influence, right? Just imagine those three teams going at it. Oh my goodness, we have forgot all about the Decay. Imagine what the tag division would look like, how awesome it would be to watch tag team wrestling week in and week out. So I think that there's so few of them, right, that the value to the organization, to the promotion, the sum is greater than the parts. And that's and obviously I said I really, really was disappointed Eddie Edwards did not walk out as the world champ. Really disappointed.
I was too.
So I'm not taking anything away from these guys as individuals at all. I'm simply saying that I think that their value as a tag team is that big.
I mean, I was disappointed didn't walk away champ too. And yeah, I don't want to take away and say Eddie can't be world champion because you're right, he is, and he can be.
I
definitely
was pissed off. Raven, I was pissed off. I wanted him to be champion very badly.
I did too, and I either wanted him to be champ or the no DQ or the double DQ. Something happened to where neither outcome took place. But I by far not going to argue that TNA needs more tag teams because Lord knows they do. I miss tag team wrestling. I'm a huge tag team wrestling guy, but the other name too. There's Killer Elite that's out there, but they're sitting on Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett that they're not utilizing as a team, which sucks a lot too. But Wolves Nation, we're going to hop into Impact, but your thoughts on, do you think they should stay a team and get a singles push split? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's, I've been asked a question many times by several different Wolves Nation members. They'll say, what happens to the Wolves Nation account if they ever split? It still stays intact. Nothing about that changes. I say,
but whose side do you take if they feud with each other? I mean, really, what do you tweet? If Davey's turning and hitting Eddie in the back of the head with the belt, I mean, Wolves Nation, what does that do to you?
You flip a coin, you decide how, when you get up in the morning who you're taking, and then I guess you really don't know until it's kind of like, the way I felt back in, 2011, 2012 at ROH events, it's like these two guys are gonna, be champion, and then, Eddie was champion, and then Davey beats him, takes the title. I think the answer is this. I think do I always want them to be a team? Of course. Who wouldn't want the Wolves together? I mean, I was just talking about this several weekends back with Davey's wife, Angelina. The Wolves have a certain charismatic push behind them, that it resonates with the fans, that these are two guys that you want to get behind. No matter if it's Eddie, Davey, but as a team, you definitely want to get behind. And they've got the same thing single, as single competitors. I think that the answer is both. And here's why I say both. I say both because you are going to have those fans that maybe didn't get to see Davey or Eddie for whatever reason at ROH. And it would be a chance for them to go, hey, these guys are not only a fantastic tag team, but they're also fantastic singles competitors. Because, you can suggest people and go back and watch matches. Some will, some won't. But if it's right in front of them, they're kind of, oh, these two are going together? They're going against each other? Oh, wait a minute, So if the end result is not them splitting up for good, but showcasing, having a story of them going against each other for a while, only while TNA builds the tag team division and it makes the tag team greater in the end result, then I'm all for it. But if it's just to split them up just for, a lame story, then boo, not take it. Boo from the Wolves Nation, So I think if there's a way you can showcase both with showing their great singles competitors and they can come together and makes the bond even stronger as the end results, go for it. I'm a big picture guy.
Absolutely. Big picture it is. And we had a big picture of TNA Impact last night. Destination X. It was a big deal, a big show, semi-live show. No broadcasting issues this time around. But so it opens up with the day after where Jeff Hardy sees visions of himself being wrapped up in tape. He wakes up from this nightmare. And then meanwhile, Matt's back home thanking his dilapidated boat for saving him. He names his boat Skarsgård, takes it into the lake, and what was it, Vanguard 1 drone or whatever, tracks him with Jeff Hardy's shirt attached to it. Just a bizarre skit. Matt throws his shirt into the lake, proclaims that it is over. But then, we get probably the match, one or two matches we're going to talk about the most here. We get the X Division ladder match, which was probably just their way of saying we've thrown too many damn Ultimate X matches at our audience the past couple of weeks. So we're just going to go ahead and put a ladder in there. So number one contender match, won by DJZ. So let's start with Mr. TNA Dude here. What were your thoughts on this X Division ladder match, and do you think the right person won?
Oh, the right person definitely won. DJZ is the number one contender. This is incredibly well-deserved. The guy has now been with TNA for 6 years, and he's finally getting a second shot at glory and a second push in the X Division. This is way overdue, and he has been absolutely on fire. I'll tell you who else is on fire in this match, and that's Andrew Everett. Andrew Everett did that awesome spot all the way down to the floor. And he has been impressive in everything that he's done. But here's a guy who's incredibly underutilized because he comes out with Trevor Lee. And so when you see him, you never see him by himself. He's always with Trevor Lee. And you think, well, he's with that guy that was the X Division champion for a while. He's the secondary guy. And they really need to do something to split Andrew Everett off. And it doesn't have to be switching out him out of the faction or anything. He can stay with Shane Helms, but they need to just give him some singles matches and maybe give him a feud that doesn't involve Trevor Lee. I don't understand Braxton Sutter being in this match, but apparently, folks, he is an X Division guy. None of us know it, but he is. But to answer your question, Raven Effect, DJZ, so well-deserved. I got to tell you, I was so happy for that kid. He is another quality kid. And I'm brimming from ear to ear for him.
Yeah, I'm super excited for DJZ too. Wolves Nation, what were your thoughts on the match?
I think pretty much TNA Dude covered it. I mean, can't be happier for DJZ. I mean, guy's another workhorse. It's good to see him get another push. And, Spud didn't get his teeth knocked out this week, so I guess that's a bonus for Spud. I had to throw that in. I couldn't resist,
Could you imagine it's like probably about Braxton Sutter's, third match or something, and he knocked somebody's teeth out? That guy must have just been, just beside himself afterwards. Oh, my God, what did I do?
Right, exactly, and I think somewhere I had a Wolves Nation member saying, Spud was mean to her or something on Twitter, and I was like, don't worry, he's a short guy with anger issues. And then the other one's like, oh, Spud's gonna get you. I was like, nah, he knows who we deal with. And I sent the gif of the Wolves' first meeting with Spud. So I was like, yeah, he knows what he's dealing with. But I think it was a great match, though. I do. It was, great spot by the guys. I mean, very entertaining. I mean, it's one of those matches that literally there was enough talent that it could have went any way. So, I think the fans really went out, but I'm glad to see DJZ get it. Can't argue with that one.
Yeah, I definitely want to echo the thoughts of how in the fucking hell is Braxton Sutter anything similar to or fits in the X Division at all, because I've literally never seen anything from him. I've talked to people who, watched him in CZW and stuff like that. My valet herself, the Cindy Doll, even says she hasn't seen a guy do anything, and I respect that opinion. So yeah, that kind of irked me to see him in there again and him in this division. I do want to say that it was very first mentioned on the HeelCast by one TNA dude. Don't quote me on which episode, but he said DJZ is a guy that needs to have the X Division title put on him. And I cannot, who can disagree with that? Like DJZ, him and Jesse Goddard's both, in my opinion, like 1A and 1B for the most improved guy in TNA this year. And, DJZ's always been a super, super talented and good wrestler. The guy deserves it so much. He really does. The stuff that pissed me off about the match, though, was it was just so short. And it seems to be the running trend with the X Division is they're showing the X Division, but the matches are super short, and it just felt on the X Division's night to only give them one match total and to cut it super short. It was just kind of an insult. And I feel give them another 5-10 minutes. Like you can't cut out one of Matt Hardy's segments. That bothered me. But it was a good match. It really was. There were lots of spots, but unfortunately, I hate this word, and I never use this term at all, but I'm going to, as it just essentially was a spot fest. Because, it was just too short, and they hit their high spots, and then it ended. But, I'm definitely not going to argue with DJZ winning the match. I would have liked to see either Andrew Everett or Mark Andrews win it, to be honest, even more than DJZ, even though DJZ probably deserves it, just because like Everett and Andrews are being wasted so much. Like those guys are both so good, but they get like no time at all, and it's just, why are you wasting those two guys? So I mean, I definitely was conflicted there, but and it all ties in. Eddie Edwards right now still the X Division champion, so that was his tag team partner for a little bit there while Davey was out. So maybe we'll see those two former partners collide. Maybe we'll see a heel turn for DJZ again. But after that, the former X Division champion Mike Bennett attacks DJZ after the match and says he's going to burn TNA to the ground. We're obviously going to be talking DJZ and Mike Bennett a little bit later, but right after that, we had Dixie Carter announce, have a legitimate, segment where she announces the move back to Thursdays. Thankfully, she mentioned the new start time. Now, I know I chimed in on it last week. TNA Dude, you mentioned something, earlier in the show, but, you have any other thoughts or anything you want to chime in about this move to Thursdays?
Not particularly. I don't think it's a particularly smart move. I understand why that they're doing it, but I think SmackDown's going to go back to Thursday, and TNA is going to have to move to a different night again. And I think sometimes your best bet is to just play it by ear a little bit and actually compete for a few weeks and see what the other's doing before you affect yourself. So to me, I mean, I guess I'm not the one paying the bills. That's obviously makes a huge difference, but I mean, I don't know. I think SmackDown's going back to Thursday, and so if you're trying to avoid SmackDown, well, you're going to be doing it again in a few months.
Yeah, I can't really argue with anything you have to say. It's a little frustrating for me as well. Wolves Nation, you have anything you want to add in about the move to Thursdays. Anything you're feeling on that?
Not particularly. I mean, I'm out. I guess. I guess it's just one of those deals where we've moved so much already. So I think it's just you know just prepare to move. We're always on the move. So I don't think there's really any issue. I think it was good for Dick to come out and say, and they're moving back to the day. So moving back to Thursday, and then we're at 8 o'clock. So other than that, let's just keep it rolling and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think that TNA or Pop TV do a good enough job advertising, and that's what scares me. And I think Thursday with the NFL is a bad night, and college football too. Like, they're not really realizing that college football has an extremely passionate fan base too. So it's like I would have chose Wednesday if I were them, but it is what it is. We'll see how that happens. So this is Destination X, kind of a pay-per-view show, but then we have the interview with Lashley and Eddie Edwards. They kind of go back and forth, and Lashley, he attacks Eddie Edwards, and the day is saved by the returning Davey Richards. Real quick, Wolves Nation, what were your thoughts on Davey Richards making the save there?
Classic protecting your brother, man. Same that any of us would do for a best friend or whoever. Total class act, and a great time to not that anyone has forgotten Davey, but just a good key reminder for Davey appearing and doing what he did. Just say, hey, just because I haven't been in the ring just kind of shows that I'm still here and I'm still watching and I still got my brother's back.
Definitely. I was excited as hell to see Davey Richards back. I kind of figured it would happen at Slammiversary. I know TNA Dude did as well. Dude, anything you feel you want to chime in there?
Yeah, I'd love to sit here and say that it was the feel-good moment of the night for me, but Davey really looked like he was hurting in the ring. And so it was so good to see him back. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It was like, Davey! Finally, we get Davey, and I'll take Davey any way that I can get him. But he really looked like he was hurting in the ring, and he didn't look 100%. And so on one hand, it's like, that's Davey Richards for you, right? That's the guy that's going to come out. He's going to give you 200% when there's only 50% of him to give. On the other hand, it was like, oh man, it's going to be a while before he's back to full speed. And so that was a little bit of a downer for me, but it's only because I like Davey so much.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole I hope he's back for Bound for Glory thing is what pops into my mind as well. We made it clear on here, and Matthew's made it clear that, Davey's not ready to be back yet. We know it's going to be fall sometime. September may be too early, but and then we see Matt Hardy having some sort of exhibit presentation with Rebby and Maxwell. He asked for the projector to play highlights of the final deletion. It's just a super weird segment. And then he proceeds to chant delete with his guests and his hosts, or he heists his son in the air and whatnot, but that happened. And then we had Bram versus Abyss, which, was used to be a regular match on TNA, but we haven't seen it in a while. It was actually sort of refreshing to see. Prior to the match, our boy Crazy Steve is upset that they can't find Rosemary, and don't blame him there. And it's something that kind of scares me, but we'll see what happens, from there. But we get Bram getting the pinfall on Abyss. After that, Rosemary comes out and kind of rubs on his chest and all that. Dude, what are your thoughts on this this match, this whole ordeal going on, love triangle, all of it?
I hate the love triangle thing. I always do. It never works for me in wrestling. And I've said it before. You're talking about Rosemary, and maybe it's just because she's my sister, and I don't want to see my sister kissing some nasty-looking dude, or any dude for that fact. So maybe this is part of it, but she's got such a great range as a character, such an awesome range as a performer. They can literally do anything with her, anything at all. And instead, they choose to throw her in and having her kiss on Bram. I don't see Bram as a good fit for the Decay. And to me, that just looks like they need to get the Decay on TV somehow. And so this is what they're going to do. We got Bram for you because we don't have anybody for you to feud with in the tag division because they're all a bunch of jabronis. And so, she comes out, looks like she's got a new dress on. She inadvertently causes Abyss to lose, and you can see there's some sort of an interest in Bran. I don't know where it's going. I'm not sure how much I care. I just don't like it. I guess it's been done too many times. And I just feel like there's so much they can do with Decay. It isn't even so much about Rosemary, but there's so much that they can do with that group that they need to invest themselves in that group and finding creative ways to get that group to come out. My goodness, they could have been the ones to interfere in the main event. Put these three over. Put them over in a big way. This is just filler for me.
Wolves Nation, what do you feel about that? Wolves Nation, DK, they kind of have some history, some bad blood, but what are your thoughts on all this?
Wow. It becomes a little bit of an interesting segment, consider the history that they've had between the Wolves, because there was that infamous Davey and Rosemary kiss, and we all know how that turned out. But I guess, again, I want to see the end result. I think it's a little progression where it's like we're getting snippets sort of, and even though it was, I enjoyed Bram and Abyss's match and Crazy Steve's interaction and then Rosemary coming out. I think so. And, well, even though we had a rivalry, and yes, we still will, I'm sure we'll have many battles again. Enjoyed seeing, I want to see the end result now. I want to, I'm looking forward to, is this all just part of the master plan and we're all being shaded by it, that Rosemary is being this actual love interest, or is it legit? Is it legit love interest, or is Rosemary confused and is loving two men? Who knows how it's going to go out? Maybe it'll involve a war, and maybe they'll be adding another member. I'm not sure, but I do find it interesting. I just hope we don't focus on one area too much, where there's that old cliche saying of too much is a good thing. I think sometimes when I'm with you guys, I want to see Decay every week. They got a great dynamic, and they're great people, great talent, everything. But sometimes it's okay just to show a quick snippet and that's it, because sometimes less is more. And I think in this case, like I said, I enjoyed the segment, but let's tease a little bit more darkness and see where we can go with this.
Now, Wolves Nation, we had the Decay on this show, and we asked them specifically about the Wolves, right? They didn't have good things to say about your boys. In fact, we asked Rosemary flat out about Angelina Love, and she had some pretty choice words for Angelina. So you may want to be thinking about this whole loving on the Decay, because they're out to get your boys and your girl.
Well, Rosemary's, let's see, called us pups, puppies, and but and I know Rosemary's had some choice words, but remember, Angelina hasn't got to get her hands on her yet either, and so I assure you, Mama Wolf will be ready. So when that time comes, battle lines must be drawn, and as we like to say, we'll let the hunt begin.
That's a 6-man or man and woman tag match that should be headlining Impact. Headlining.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially put the tag belts on the line. Have one of them win the Knockouts title. Put that all on the line too. I mean, make it big. Because this is their entire tag team division and feud, in my opinion. Because like I said, Lee and Everett, they're not doing shit with them, and Broman's gimmick is just preventing them from really taking the leap to get the respect they deserve. I don't know that Bram fits the DK at all. All I'm going to say is just don't break up the Decay. Like, don't break Rosemary away. This act is too hot. This act has been doing too well. I just like I don't I it just I'm nervous as hell that they are going to just split Rosemary up from the DK, have her go with Bram or something. I'm not going to get into it because maybe they'll still air it. But there were on the last set of tapings prior to these ones, there were two big scenes involving Bram and the DK that have not made the air. So I'm a little skeptical and curious as to what's happening. But TNA, keep DK together, Rosemary, Steve, and Abyss.
I was just going to say one last thing on that. Have you noticed every time Rosemary is with Bram, his beard gets shorter and shorter? Will we eventually see a clean-shaven Bram before it's over?
I have noticed the same thing.
I noticed it yesterday, too, because I was like, who in the hell is this? Oh, yeah, that's Bram. Maybe she's eating, maybe she's biting the beard off. Who knows? She's Rosemary. Your sister's like a witch, dude.
She is, man. She's...
Well,
she's a mean bitch, that's for damn sure.
Well, she calls Bram the dragon, so now he's going to be less of a bearded dragon.
We got the let the hunt begin. We're getting all these one-liners going, and before we get too many one-liners, we have the woman accompanying Sienna. I'm trying to think of something decent as a little plug here for Allie and her voice, but basically we have the four-way knockouts title match. Sienna retaining her title, Jade, Gail Kim, and Marty Bell getting a shot at the Knockouts Championship. The kind of a short match, a little bit anticlimactic. So the only thing I want to say, and then I'm going to let you guys take it, is I fucking love Sienna. I think they have pushed this girl so well. I think she is like just killing it. She just is really clicking for me, in my opinion. I still hate the name change, but oh well. And I think Allie is doing fantastic. Just she's going to be a hit, in my opinion. Like, I think she is going to end up being big. I know a lot of people aren't happy because Sienna hasn't been in TNA that long and she already got the Knockouts Championship. But I'll be honest with you guys, like, I was so for it because I just think she is just the best thing in the division right now, other than Rosemary, who's not competing in it. So we'll go ahead and let TNA dude chime in on the Knockouts title match, but Team Sienna over here.
I like Sienna. I think that Sienna's doing a great job. I think it was too soon for them to give her the belt. I'm probably the person you're referring to there. It's not a knock on Sienna. Sienna has done nothing wrong. She's done nothing but perform, and I think that's why you're such a fan of hers. To me, this is more about the fact that they had a golden opportunity to showcase Jade. They just dropped the ball completely. And so every time that I see Sienna with the belt, all I think about is the lost opportunity with Jade. Jade had a title run, and Jade virtually never saw the TV screen. And I truly don't understand why. I think that this Sienna gal is great, but I would kind of prefer to have them see her build herself up with the fans first. She's going out there. She's kicking butt. What I really like about her is she has a lot of power moves, but she's not Awesome Kong big, right? So she's just a strong gal that fits the mold just well. I like the fact that they have Allie out there as her valet. I like the fact that you got 4 women in the ring. I've been telling TNA for months, years really, you need to make better use of your roster by having more multi-men, or in this case, multi-women matches. They did that with the X Division, and they did that here as well. It was a way to take 2 feuds, Jade and Marty, as well as Sienna and Gail, put them together in one segment, right? And we get double the bang for the buck. And oh, by the way, we get Allie out there too, so she's not forgotten either. To me, that's what this is about. I think that Sienna can still be Sienna without the belt. And I sit here and I don't know who's going to beat her. Jade's going with Marty right now. Gail pretty much beats everybody, and I love me some Gail Kim. It doesn't get any better than Gail Kim, but how many times is she going to be Knockouts champion for how long? So short of bringing Rosemary in to wrestle Sienna, I don't know who they can do.
I think it's great to see all of them out there, and Allie's kind of in that stage right now that Jade and Marty was in with the Dollhouse, kind of getting established. I'm more, I guess, looking I'm really looking forward to Allie breaking away, where she can step out and really shine, is what I'm waiting for. Again, when it comes to them, Gilligan, like you said, have to agree with TNA, dude. You can't beat her. I mean, she's great. I would really like to see, Jade on this one because, I followed Jade's work in the indie world, and she's fantastic, phenomenal talent, and I think she deserved more of a TV push as champ rather than, get it and nothing and you lose it, So that's pretty much my feelings. More Jade.
Yeah, I do want to chime in and say, like, I do feel bad for Jade because, she definitely worked hard. She deserved it. She needed the belt. She deserved to get treated better that she did as a champ. And, and it's just, the only thing is I feel like Sienna completely has blown her out of the water, but it's still, Jade deserved what she got. It's kind of like James Storm. The guy deserves a legit world title reign, but, Bobby Roode kind of blew him out. But, we don't need to spend a whole lot more time as we can't eclipse last week's record number as far as, time spent. So here we go. We're going to talk about the deleted Brother Nero coming out. So Matt Hardy, this was the moment for me, like Matt Hardy kind of really, it was like, all right, this guy, I'm going to give him all the props in the world because he was pretty damn hilarious in this skit. Is I was just so sick and tired of seeing him. But, when he talks about how he's deleted Brother Nero, Rebby's chanting and calling him obsolete. What did he call? He said you can go, Brother Nero. So he says Brother Nero's TNA contract is terminated and that he can go to New York and work with a Mr. Meek Mahan. And and then you see Jeff Hardy start cracking up laughing. So he lost it there. So basically, I don't even know what was done here, but just his deletion is worse than a punishment on death. Your guys, TNA dude, what were your thoughts on this Bizarro World skit?
Oh, this is just their way of saying that Jeff Hardy's alive and doing well, and he's not leaving Impact Wrestling. When you look at it and you see him talking about Vince McMahon and up north, although I think he called him Veek Mahan or Meek Mahan or something like that. I think it's just their way of kind of poking fun at the Jeff Hardy's leaving TNA rumors and their way of saying that they're not writing him out, that they've just deleted him. And other than that, it was complete filler.
I'm pretty much right on the line with it. I sort of felt the same way, just kind of prove a point. But I think at this point, as much as the creatures love seeing Jeff, and I like seeing Jeff too. I think for a while, I think we need that Jeff, to be gone, and maybe they'll go with the Jeff reinventing himself idea and giving us something new. But we'll see how it goes. But got to give props to Matt Hardy and his crazy character just coming out more and more, never fails to get a good chuckle out of me for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they had to put Matt Hardy. Like, you can't do what they did last week and not have Matt Hardy on the show. I just think they put way too much Matt Hardy on the show, and that had bothered me. But this part itself, I didn't mind. I'm gonna say this before we move on, though, is there is no way that is the last Matt Hardy versus Jeff Hardy match in TNA. This feud is not over with. It can't be over with because now Brother Nero seems like he's going to be the slave. It's just, kind of like the EC3 thing with him last year. It's not over with. So then DJZ confronts Mike Bennett backstage, and he in the back. And so DJZ challenges Mike Bennett. There's a distraction because the whole X division comes out. So DJZ scores the pin on Mike Bennett. I think it's being undersold how fucking huge this was for DJZ to get this pin. Like, he pinned Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett's been pinned one time in TNA, and he's taken TNA by storm, and that was by EC3. This is, I think it may be being overlooked. Maybe I'm just jumping way too into it, but I think this was just huge for DJZ. WolvesNation, you agree, or what were your thoughts on this part?
No, I totally agree. For two reasons, actually. Like you said, the first one being, yes, he did get, in fact, a pin over Mike Bennett. The other thing, this is a guy that won a match earlier in the night, so definitely give props to him. And I mean, he just did what he had to do, and I felt this match was to kind of prove he was legit. It wasn't one of those fluke things. Oh, you won a number one contender. He proved that I am the man that can do it.
So here's the thing, right? Wolves Nation. Who's the X Division champion?
My man Eddie Edwards.
What happened when your man Eddie Edwards wrestled Mike Bennett recently?
Oh, yeah, I felt.
Yeah, he got cheated. He couldn't beat him. He got
right,
cheated. He did get cheated, but he couldn't beat him. So when we talk
Right.
about this being a huge win for Zema Ion is not the X Division champion. Therefore, he's
Right.
not at Eddie Edwards' level. Therefore, this is a huge win because Eddie couldn't get the win. And we're talking about Eddie Edwards, the guy who winds up with the World Heavyweight Championship title match right after this loss to Mike Bennett. So, the loss to Mike Bennett didn't keep Eddie Edwards from getting a world title match, right? Or apparently two, because there's another one coming up. So this is huge for Zema Ion actually getting this win. Now, look, this has just got to be said. We got Wolves Nation on the podcast tonight. We're huge DJZ fans, Raven. I think that we need to create a DJZ fan account and call it the Burn Unit. Would be the Burn Unit. Nothing. I don't love.
I definitely want to.
DJZ. That's like awesome, man. It's not as cool as Wolves Nation, but it's awesome.
I do want to give you some love on that because it is cool. That the part I didn't like was just it's like as awesome as it is, we're still that's the whole bromance thing and how annoying it made it. But the dude definitely needs some props and like it's just TNA almost lost this guy. Like he legitimately came out and said, "Hey, I might not be re-signing. This may be my last time with TNA." And then he says he's doing these Lucha Libre lessons, and the dude is just fucking tearing it up every week. And the other thing about this too, and I just actually TNA dude's point kind of made me realize, like Mike Bennett, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago, legitimately was made to look better than the entire X division. You know what I mean? Like they kind of just made him look well above the X division, kind of buried the division. So for them to have DJZ come out, who had already wrestled in a ladder match, to come out later on and then fucking pin Mike Bennett clean, like that's a pretty solid way to redeem himself. But it's just huge in my opinion. So I'd like to see DJZ and Eddie Edwards for the X Division title. Certainly not Lashley and DJZ for an X Division title. But one thing that also kind of let me down in my opinion. So EC3 and Galloway fight, it just seemed like more pointless filler on a show that shouldn't have had any filler, in my opinion. Because it's Destination X, it should be a pay-per-view with a lot of wrestling. Anyone else just underwhelmed? And like, why did this happen between Galloway and EC3? Either of you? We'll start with Dude.
I mean, I think I just need to get EC3 and Galloway on the show. I don't think it's any more than that. I mean, there's a certain amount of filler on a wrestling show. This just happened to be filler this week. Kind of like Matt and Jeff. But you got to get them on there, so you do.
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up. It was, I mean, while it is great to see those two go at it, and of course they've been tearing it up in the indie world, I most definitely think it was more filler than anything. Fun filler, but yeah, it was filler. Always fun to see them, but they probably could have waited until the week after.
Yeah, I agree, because I mean this rivalry or whatever's brewing with them has been pretty compelling in my opinion, and it seems like Galloway's going to turn heel, but then again you never know. It was underwhelming for something that hasn't been underwhelming at all for two guys that don't seem to underwhelm very much, I guess. I don't know, but I'm interested to see where it goes, and it seems like they're building to a big match and, just build to it so the roof can come off. They have these Bound for Glory playoff series coming in. I kind of think like maybe Galloway and EC3 are going to end up for their collision one way or another that way. It seems like EC3 and Lashley is what they want to do for Bound for Glory. So we'll see what happens. So prior to that, Mike Bennett had said he's going to, I forgot to mention this, but he says he's going to burn TNA to the ground, but not by himself tonight on the cell phone, telling someone to get here now. So we're still wondering when that's going to happen at this point in the show. But then we have Davey Richards talking to Eddie Edwards. They talk about their history together, 7 years. Richards basically just says he wishes he was in the ring tonight, but will be at ringside to support Eddie versus Lashley. I don't know about anyone else, but I saw this and I thought, fucking TNA is turning Davey Richards heel. They can't possibly be doing this. I was expecting heel turn. We're not going to, dissect the match right now, but anyone else, like Wolves Nation, let's start with you. Were you expecting Davey to turn heel?
No. I see it as kind of face value of just Davey reaffirming his brother Eddie that he was going to be with him the whole time. He had his back, and but some of the Wolves Nation members started kind of blowing up the count. Was like, oh no, don't tell me this is where Davey turns his back on Eddie. So you wasn't the only one in feeling that, I assure you, but I was kind of taking it just reaffirming his brother, I got your back.
Dude?
I was scared to death that they might turn Davey Richards heel. If that match had ended with Davey turning on Eddie, I was going to have a cow. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, that was not the time nor the place to have Davey Richards get, jealous of Eddie's spot. But I'll be honest with you, I think part of it was I just don't think Davey was feeling well. I mean, he looked like he was hurting, and so I think that it could just completely be coincidental that he was standing there at the ring with that kind of I don't want to be here, look on his face. It might have just been really don't feel good. I'm really hurting. And I'm trying to hide it, and I'm having a tough time hiding it. And that might have been all that it was. But, man, was that scary.
Yeah, it was. 'Cause, like we mentioned, 75 times on this show, or at least I have, about Wolves DK kind of needs to happen. But, for them to ruin another tag team that they desperately need, it was pretty scary there. So, all right, audience, listening, HeelCast Nation, Wolves Nation, Lashley versus Edwards takes place. Davey Richards does not turn heel. Davey actually ends up getting involved in this match at one point. I legitimately, this is, and I'm not even kidding, I thought as soon as Davey came in, they hit that finisher. I thought Eddie's going to win the champ. And then as the count's going on, I thought, nope, Lashley's kicking out actually. And then he did. Lashley kicks out. These two put on a pretty damn good match. Ends in a no contest because, as we may have kind of already given out the spoiler, Mike Bennett interferes with the debuting Moose. We, like I had said, we saw Moose head-to-head with Lashley, but Mike Bennett and Moose disrupt Impact Destination X like they said that they were going to do. I was super thrilled with the way everything played out, truthfully, because I thought this was a lose-lose situation. But TNA dude, what did you think about this entire match and segment?
Oh, God, where to start? So I was like about ready to jump out of my chair when Eddie went for the cover. I was like, this is it. Eddie's gonna win. And then it's like, oh crap, he's kicking out. Son of a bitch, right? And we all knew that Bennett was coming back. And I got to tell you, we talk about Moose and the debut of Moose. When Bennett's like, I'm coming back and I'm bringing somebody with me, I'm going, all right. We all know who this is going to be. But come on, please be Matt Taven. Please be Matt Taven, because I would love to have Matt Taven. And if Matt Taven had interfered, it would have been Matt Taven versus Eddie Edwards, right? And you still could have had Mike Bennett going with Lashley, and it could have really led to something cool where, Taven is now feuding for the X Division title, or at least in the X Division. But alas, he's still in the ROH roster page. I know this because I checked just to make sure, and we got Moose instead. And like I've said before, Moose, a lot of upside. He's not quite there yet. He comes in, he makes the big debut, and I will say, Moose could use Bennett. Bennett's got the talking ability. Raven, I know you've covered this already. It's what Moose needs. Bennett's been promising a kingdom, so Moose is the beginning of this kingdom. Hopefully they put Moose in the role of not the leader, but if Mike Bennett were to be the Hulk Hogan of the group, maybe Moose could be the Kevin Nash or Giant or Sid Vicious or one of those folks that joined the group and was maybe, some muscle for the group, but not the main guy. But I thought that Eddie Edwards looked great. And look, Wolves Nation, I know that you're in contact with the Wolves. You have got to do me a big personal favor and tell Eddie Edwards that TNA Dude says thank you. Thank you, Eddie Edwards, for over the last 2 weeks wiping that smile off of your face, for standing up to Lashley, being no nonsense and saying, I'm not afraid of you. You're not going to push me around, for having the most awesome counter to the spear ever in the Boston Knee Party. And frankly, for showing a side of him he has not shown in TNA yet. Eddie Edwards was absolutely on fire, not just in this match, but the promos. As I watched last week's show, I'm like, Eddie, this is your time, buddy. You need to give the promo of your life. And his promo was so much better. He wasn't just smiling and kind of laughing and being jovial, Eddie. He was dead serious. I'm in your face and you ain't messing with me. And as an Eddie Edwards fan since his ROH days, oh, God, Wolves Nation, man, that's just so awesome to see. So freaking awesome.
Yeah, I can't deny, the match had a little bit of everything. You can't, we'll go on with what you were saying about Eddie's promo it got you fired up. You was ready to go. I know the Wolves Nation was sounding off, and man, I was right there with him. Let's go, Eddie. Let's do this thing. And, like I said, the Boston Knee Party, a great ode to his hometown and just a great counter altogether. He delivered on all fronts, even though it didn't go the way we as Wolves Nation wanted, obviously, but we still have a lot to be proud of. I mean, you look at this on a whole, you did get to see Davey Richards. He might not have been back like you wanted yet because it's still early. But you got to see his face, and that put him fresh on your mind again. And you got to see Eddie Edwards, that different side that a lot of fans haven't seen, where this is a serious Eddie Edwards. This is that Wolves. This is why he's one of the Wolves, because he's vicious. They hunt, And I'm glad that fans got to see that, and I think you're going to see more of that. I mean, we've seen the jovial Eddie, of course, and he is that guy, but he's also that guy that can stand on his own face to face. When the time comes, you don't want to get in Eddie Edwards' face because he's not going to back down. And just like any wolf, they're not going to back down. They're going to fight you to the death. And then, so I can't nothing to argue about on the Wolves side of things. It is, other than, would we have liked to win? Most definitely we would have wanted to win. And then you get Mike Bennett, mixed feelings on Bennett. Mixed feelings because, we know what he did to Eddie and all those things. But don't agree with the guy's way about going, the way he's going. But you can't deny guy's golden. He delivers. He's as golden as the pants as he often wears in his jacket. Can't argue with it. He delivers. And then you get Moose. I want to see how it progresses from here. I think the most interesting thing to me of that, as far as the Moose and Lashley, was the fact of seeing Lashley actually get thrown around. Was by a guy bigger than him was quite interesting. So I found the whole segment fun, a good way to ending, and a good building block for the next show for sure.
Yeah, it was. Like I'm still a little disappointed that Eddie didn't come away world champion. I may prefer Davey to Eddie, but that still doesn't mean I don't love Eddie. But for me, like the way I'm taking away from this, and I guess the last thing to mention about Impact that hasn't been mentioned is that Dixie Carter did say that the fans deserve a winner. They're supposed to see a winner, so there is going to be the rematch next week, title for title, Lashley versus Eddie Edwards, 6 sides of steel. So I felt they booked themselves into a lose-lose situation. Now they're for sure making sure they put themselves in that situation, but either way, we'll see what happens. Moose, I think, look, a lot of people are there's obviously a lot of differing opinions on Moose. I happen to be very high on him. A lot of people are not. And that's fine. It doesn't matter. What does matter, though, is that Moose was a big name commodity. He was a big time free agent, and TNA got him. I understand WWE had to back out, because of timing and what was going on, but TNA got a big time free agent. And we know Billy Corgan, minority owner now, did the investing, whatnot. Like, Impact Wrestling fans, like, let's just embrace this because, like, they got a big rating on Pop TV. That was even before the +3 and +5 DVR numbers, right? So then the next week they get a big free agent signing to make a splash in Moose. I mean, let's just hope that a lot of this momentum is coming back to TNA. More eyes are going to be there. More free agents may come to TNA. More game changers. Let's just hope that this is a sign of it. And maybe Cody Rhodes, Sandow, Wade Barrett. There's some decent enough names with a solid enough fan base. Maybe something's going to change for TNA. TNA dude mentioned Matt Taven. Him and I have been calling for Matt Taven since week 1 of this show, to be honest with you. I was kind of hoping it was going to be Taven too, but let's just hope that this is a sign of bigger and better things coming for TNA. And, it's been a pretty relieving and good past couple weeks to be a TNA fan. I think we can all agree. Am I right?
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
All right. So, you would think that the sound off is kind of a no-brainer with Moose, but this is Wolves Nation night. We're celebrating the Wolves. TNA dude, why don't you go ahead and hit the audience with the sound off question for the week, as you always do, my friend.
All right, everybody, our sound off question for the week. Do you feel that the Wolves should both get separate singles pushes when Davey returns, or be strictly back as a tag team? If they do get singles pushes, do you want to see them feud with each other, or stay together as a team along with the single pushes also? Let us know in the responses below on both YouTube and on TNAsylum.net, and you can also hit us on Twitter as well. So folks, I also want to remind you that you need to fill out the awards, which are posted on this page as well, and we'll have them in the comments on YouTube. And as always, they have been tweeted and pinned to our Twitter account. Please fill those out, and we'll have the results for you for those next week. So folks, on behalf of Raven Effect and our very special guests, Wolves Nation, I'm TNA Dude saying have a great week, and we'll see you next time.